Liora was known for two things: her elegance and her refusal to touch a cooking pot. In the city where fast meals arrived quicker than patience, she trusted polished tables and printed menus more than her own hands. To her, restaurants were safety. Liora had barely finished the last spoon of her meal at Golden Palms Eatery when panic tightened her stomach. The pressure came suddenly, fierce and unforgiving. She waved at the nearest waitress.
Excuse me, can you show me to the restroom?
But fate, cruel and impatient, stood in her way. The restroom was occupied. Liora shifted from foot to foot, beads of sweat forming on her brow. As she waited, her eyes wandered, and that was when she noticed it. A service swing door, gently rocking back and forth, as though whispering a warning. Desperation drowned caution. She leaned forward and peeped. What lay beyond shattered her appetite forever. The eatery's cooking area looked nothing like the polished dining space she had just left. Dirty plates were stacked like abandoned ruins beside the gas stove. Raw meat lay naked on wooden tables, blackened with flies that buzzed greedily. The floor glistened with old spills, and rats scurried freely, unafraid of human presence. The women cooking wore aprons, once white, now stained beyond recognition. Their hair was uncovered, tangled and oily. The air was thick with rot and smoke. Then Liora saw her, the chief cook, Madame Coco, a large woman with dark glistening skin, stood over a pot. Her sleeveless gown clung to her body. Brown-stained teeth flashed as she laughed, scratching her armpits with the same spoon she dipped back into the soup without washing it. Liora gagged. The stench punched her lungs. She clutched her stomach, covered her nose, and staggered backward. She fled through the swing door, past shocked diners, and out into the open air. Here she emptied everything she had eaten onto the pavement. As she wet her mouth, trembling, one thought echoed in her mind like a drumbeat. If this is what beauty hides, what have I been feeding my body all these years? That question would follow Liora into places far darker than she imagined. Long before the horror behind the service swing door, Liora's life had already been shaped by what she ate and how she ate it. She grew up in a bustling household under the care of Mr. and Mrs. Ezeanyi. Parents known more for their tireless pursuit of success than for their presence at home. They were blessed with 3 children, Liora, Uche, and Kosi. But blessing alone did not raise a family. From the moment school began, warmth slowly disappeared from their home. Every morning, money replaced breakfast. Their parents pressed notes into small palms and hurried off. Her father chasing roads and contracts. Her mother vanishing into the endless noise of new dawn markets. The children learned to survive on meals bought from roadside vendors near sunrise roundabouts. By nightfall, dinner was another purchase. Eating quietly before sleep claimed them, long before their parents returned. Liora, the eldest, became the shield. She watched over her siblings, counted their change, and made sure they ate. Though none of them truly knew what home cooked meant, their mother never taught Liora how to cook. Time was always scarce. Love was assumed, never shown. As years passed, the children grew addicted to the taste of oil-soaked snacks and quick meals. Junk food became comforts. Street food became normal. Clean kitchens became unfamiliar. When tragedy struck and their father died in a sudden accident, the fragile balance broke completely. Uche and Kosi joined their mother at the market, while Liora buried herself in survival. Cooking was never an option. Eating out was all she knew. Even at Christian State University, Liora stood out. She knew every food spot, every cheap joint at Unity Junction food strip, every place students whispered about at night. Her closest friend, Reima, often warned her gently. Not everything that fills the stomach protects the body, Reima would say. Liora laughed it off. She had no idea her habits were quietly writing a dangerous future, one meal at a time. When Liora was posted to Yenagoa for her graduate training program, she felt as though the world was finally losing its grip on her. The town was unfamiliar, quiet, and far from the weight of family expectations. For the first time in her life, she was truly alone, and she loved it. She settled quickly into a modest apartment and resumed the life she knew best. Cooking utensils remained untouched, their absence unnoticed. Instead, Liora mapped the town through flavors. Each evening, after work, she wandered from eatery to eatery, tasting soups thick with oil, rice heavy with spice, grilled meat charred just enough to excite the senses. Food, to her, was adventure and comfort wrapped into one. Nene, who had also been posted to the same training school, moved in with her like a blessing in disguise. Unlike Liora, Nene rose early to visit new door markets, returning with vegetables, still wet from dawn dew, and fish wrapped neatly in leaves. She cooked slowly, carefully, as though every meal was an offering. Liora watched in confusion. "You don't get tired?" she asked one evening, leaning against the doorway. "Tired of caring for myself?" Nene replied calmly, "Never." The difference between them soon became visible. While Nene's meal were simple and warm, Liora returned nightly with plastic bags and takeaway packs. She refused to buy plates or pots, claiming they took up space. When Nene questioned her, Liora bristled. "My money, my choice." She snapped once, her voice sharp with offense. Nene apologized, but worry lingered in her eyes. Then came Kachi. He appeared one bright afternoon, polished shoes glinting in the sun, confidence resting easily on his shoulders. A successful businessman with interests scattered across the country. He noticed Liora instantly. His attention was deliberate, flattering. Their conversations turned into calls into evenings at elegant restaurants where candles flickered and plates shone. Liora felt chosen. Every outing fed her pride and her habits. She did not realize she was drifting further from the skills she never learned and closer to a moment that would expose her deepest emptiness. Because love, linger hunger, eventually demands to be fed. Kachi's visit came without warning, announced only by a gentle knock and the scent of expensive cologne drifting into Liora's living room. She welcomed him with excitement, her heart racing, the way it always did when he smiled at her. To her, his presence felt like proof that she had finally done something right with her life. They talked for a while, laughter filling the room, until Kachi pressed a hand to his stomach and chuckled. "I'm starving," he said. "I want to taste something made by you." The word struck Liora like sudden rain. She froze, searching for a way out. When he suggested they visit new door markets together to buy ingredients, panic bloomed behind her eyes. "That's unnecessary," she replied quickly. "Why waste time cooking? We can order something special from a restaurant." Kachi shook his head, still smiling, but his voice was firm. "No, I want to know you beyond what money can buy." Silence filled the room. Liora's confidence collapsed. Slowly, painfully, she confessed the truth.
I do not know how to cook.
Not even the simplest meal. The words tasted bitter in her mouth. Kachi stared at her, disbelief darkening his expression. To him, cooking was not about gender or tradition. It was about care, effort, and responsibility. Without another word, he stood, disappointment written clearly across his face, and walked out of her life as suddenly as he had entered in. When Nene returned home later that evening, she found Liora lying motionless on the bed, staring at the ceiling. Concern softened her voice as she asked what was wrong. Liora lied. She blamed missing money, exhaustion, anything but the truth. She could not bear to admit that her habit had cost her someone she loved. She feared Nene's silence, understanding more than mockery. That night, hunger returned, but not for food. It was hunger for self-worth, for skills never learned, for a foundation never built. And as Liora lay awake, one truth whispered through her thoughts. Beauty impresses the eyes, but substance is what keeps the heart. Not long after Kachi disappeared from her life, Liora noticed it. A new restaurant stood boldly along her route home from work, glowing like a promise. Its name, Gold Palm Eatery, was written in gold letters that caught the sun. Glass walls reflected elegance, laughter floated through its doors, and customers filled every table. To Liora, it looked like salvation served on polished plates. Curiosity became routine. She stepped inside one afternoon and was immediately seduced by the soft music, smiling waitresses, and prices that felt almost generous for such luxury. The food arrived quickly, steaming and fragrant. One bite convinced her this place was different. Golden Palms became her daily refuge. The staff soon memorized her order. On days when the sun burned too fiercely, she placed phone calls and had meals delivered to her office. The comfort of consistency erase the ache left by Kachi's absence. Eating well, she told herself, was healing. Then one afternoon, something small ruined everything. She was nearly done with her meal when she noticed it. Dark, cold, unmistakable. A dead cockroach lay hidden beneath the rice. Her stomach lurched. Shock froze her hands. It was the first time she had seen such a thing. Perhaps because she always ate quickly, without looking closely. She threw the food away, shaking but dismissive. It must be a mistake. A week later, her body rebelled. Fever burned through her veins. Her stomach twisted endlessly, forcing her into Hopewell Medical Center, where doctors fought to stabilize her condition. Dr. Mensah delivered the truth without softness. A dangerous bacteria, one that thrived only in extreme fields. You were lucky, he warned. A few more days and this would have ended differently. Liora recovered, but not her wisdom. Against Nene's care and quiet meals, she returned to Golden Palms. Again, she fell ill. Then again. Fear finally took root. Why did a place so beautiful leave her broken each time? The shine, she realized, might be hiding something far uglier, and she was determined to uncover it. She could no longer rely on anyone else to protect her health. If she wanted to survive and thrive, she would have to learn from herself. That evening, Liora cleared her small kitchen with methodical care. She arranged her few utensils neatly and washed every plate and pot with painstaking attention. For the first time, the kitchen felt like hers. Despite her new discipline in the kitchen, Liora could not erase the memory of Golden Palm Eatery from her mind. Its polished exterior and bustling tables had once seemed like paradise. Curiosity gnawed at her. She needed to know fully why she had fallen sick repeatedly and who was responsible. One afternoon, determined and unafraid, Liora returned to the restaurant. She walked past the elegant facade, past smiling waiters, and into the dining hall, pretending to browse the menu as she always did. But this time, she was not a customer. She was an investigator. Feigning urgency, she asked the waiter for the restroom. As expected, it was occupied. The swing door loomed before her, heart racing. Liora stepped through her eyes, scanning every corner. Nothing was hidden from her now. Dishes were stacked haphazardly. Flies clung to exposed meat. Greasy aprons and tangled hair marked every cook. And there, as she had seen before, stood Madame Coco, scraping an unwashed armpit with the very spoon she used to stir the soup. But Liora did not flee this time. Instead, she observed, memorized, and mentally recorded every violation of hygiene. She stamped a few photos discreetly and even took a note of the ingredients stored improperly. Every detail fueled her resolve. By the time she returned to the street, she realized that beauty could easily deceive. Appearances were fragile shields for negligence. Liora understood now that power lay not in avoidance, but in knowledge and action. That night, she shared her findings with Nene. I can't trust the outside world anymore. I need to know that what I eat is safe. Together, they went to a new door market. Nene guided her through chopping and washing, patiently showing the little tricks that made food not just safe, but nourishing. The first attempt at cooking was clumsy. Liora dropped a knife, over-seasoned the soup, and burned a small patch of rice. Yet, each mistake felt like a lesson. By the time the meal was ready, it wasn't fancy. It didn't shimmer like the restaurant's plate, but it smelled warm, wholesome, and alive. When Liora tasted her own creation, a new feeling washed over her. Pride, not just in the flavor, but in the effort, the care, the knowledge that she had made something from start to finish, without deception or danger. That night, as she shared the meal with Nene, Liora realized something profound. True security begins where your own hands and hearts meet. For the first time, she felt in control of her life. Her colleagues noticed the change first. Lunch times now included warm containers of rice and soup, carefully packed and shared generously. Others were intrigued. Some even asked for tips or to join her in her humble kitchen. Liora felt a quiet pride swelling inside her, not from admiration, but from the knowledge that she was finally capable, self-reliant, and protected from the hidden dangers that lurked in her polished restaurants. Yet, the lesson was not just in cooking. It was in patience. Every stir of the pot, every simmering soup taught her that instant gratification often carried hidden risks. For years, she had been drawn to the convenience of street food and restaurant glamour, blind to the dangers beneath shiny surfaces. Now, each careful step in her kitchen was a rebellion against ignorance, a stand for her own well-being. Even Kachi returned, curious about the transformation he had once dismissed. He came not with judgment, but with admiration, seeing a woman who had taken responsibility for herself, rather than waiting for others to do it. Apologies were exchanged, old misunderstandings resolved, and a stronger, more authentic bond formed. Liora no longer feared vulnerability, for she had learned that growth often came from confronting weaknesses head on. The old restaurants, the cockroaches, the illness, they remained memories. Liora smiled. The kitchen was no longer just a place to cook. It was a kingdom she ruled, clean, safe, and full of life. And in that kingdom, she would never again be powerless. I am the ready writer, and every story hides a truth.